Hello and welcome to DCG's development update. We are here with the core, the platform, and the mobile teams. We will wrap this hour with a dedicated Q&A session. For that, please submit your questions in the live chat below. And to help us identify those questions, please begin each with a Q or a question prefix. Let's start with the platform team and with Sam. Without further ado.
Oh, you almost forgot. 50% pay cut.
All right. Let me share the screen. Let me find my screen. Where is it? Oh, it's here. Okay. If my computer let me. There you go.
Okay.
With the overview.
Yes. So what did we do? We had some last minute issues. We were supposed to release on the 18th. And then on the 18th, during our sanity checks, I was like, that's weird. Why aren't withdrawals working? Why am I not getting my withdrawal? You see, like withdrawals had nothing to do with no withdrawal code actually even changed in 2.0. So we hadn't really tested that. It's kind of what often is said when you're deep in the project, you sometimes don't see like the peripheral area. And yeah, so withdrawals stopped working and we needed to go in and fix that. There's been a lot of Dash Evo tool improvements over the last 2 weeks and a lot of work on the SDK. And so let's go on. Before we go into anything, I'm going to tell you guys really what the plan was. No. We can go forward. Yeah. What was the plan? So we were going to do community testing until the 17th. We were going to release on to mainnet on the 18th of June if nothing was discovered. Literally, as we were running like the last minute sanity checks, the last thing I was testing, I was just like, okay, let's go through like the basic functionality of everything. And then let me check. And the last thing I was checking was, does a withdrawal still work? And it didn't work. So yeah. So since then, we fixed the issue. It was related to size integers, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. The size integers caused us tons of issues, actually. Many long nights of like scratching our heads. Let's move forward. So the new plan, we just released RC18. There was the ability to like fix testnet. And by fix testnet, mean keep all the blocks and create a new version and create the actual errors that we're going to have. But we decided that that was just going to take a few days, and we didn't really want to do that. Both plans take a few days, but one we're just waiting and we can work on other things in the meantime. And the other plan would take a few days of like very active and hard work. So as lazy developers, as every developer should be, we're working on other things at the same time. So we're not that lazy. Okay, so we're resyncing. So before we had 2.0 activate on testnet, we're going to that moment, and we're going to basically erase the chain forward on testnet from that point and re-put a new testnet with RC18. We're going to do about 1 day of testing after that, and then we're going to release 2.0. Hopefully the day of testing will reveal that everything is dandy and we can move forward and release 2.0. I don't want to promise any dates anymore because, yeah. But if RC18 is good, we'll have the release this week. If RC18 has a problem, no. But at the moment, we've solved the withdrawal issue, so it should be all good. I don't think that there'll be anything else after that. Yeah, so what exactly was this issue? In 2.0, data contracts can have a precise integer encoding. Why did we do this? Well, integers in 1.0 were always 8 bytes long, but sometimes integers could be 1 byte long, or 2 bytes long, or 4 bytes long. And you're saving a lot of space, and saving space means that your user documents are cheaper, and everybody wants their user documents to be cheaper. Everybody wants the system to be more efficient. So we introduced precise integer encoding. There are two types of contracts in our system. There are system contracts and normal user contracts. The system contracts interact with the system, and like the withdrawal contract is a system contract. We have like 7 system contracts, and the withdrawal contract had integer fields inside of them. We have code that basically moves our system contracts to always a new version. So it's always in the latest updated version. However, when it was being moved to the latest updated version, it was turning on precise integer encoding, which it should not have done. It should have kept non-precise integer encoding, and because otherwise you'd have 2 ways of decoding the integers within withdrawals, which we could do. I actually was thinking about like doing that just for our system to be slightly more efficient. However, that would take a few weeks, and I'll do it at a future tape, or maybe not a few weeks, but a few days. And I just want to get 2.0 out at this point. So yeah, it caused an incompatibility. It made withdrawals no longer be queryable internally. And that was actually because we had when you write the index, a small integer and a big integer are will have the first byte flipped. This is a more difficult explanation for people who want to know. And because the first byte is flipped on an 8-byte integer, the first byte is going flipped, right? It's going to be a very, very, very big number. Whereas on a small integer, if you flip the first byte, you'll have 1, and a certain amount of zeros, and it will be a small number. And when you put those in the secondary index mechanism that wasn't made to handle both variable and non-variable integers in the same index, well, it was not getting the ones that it was supposed to, and it was basically bailing out. That's basically it. It was very hard to find, actually. So with that, I'm happy we figured it out, and we can move forward. Lukasz?
Yeah, hi, let me start from what I'm working right now on. So basically right now, as Sam mentioned, we had a glitch on testnet. So in order to recover from it, we decided to do a fork of the chain. Basically, we will roll back the chain to some earlier point in time when the version 1.8 was working there. And at the point where the upgrade from 1.8 to 2.0 was executed, we halt the network, and we will just restart the chain from this point. So we will create new blocks, and that will replace previous blocks. So that's a plan, and I'm in the middle of that. This is not something we should do on mainnet, but for testnet, it's good enough for us to like fix the issues we have. other solutions were basically much more time consuming and requiring much more effort. So this should be done tomorrow, and hopefully tomorrow at the end of day testnet will be up. And I also did some work on Dash Evo tool. I fixed a few issues there. One was a regression where I did some improvement to automatically detect Dash Qt. It stopped working after some changes, so I had to re-implement that or fix it. And another stuff that is still waiting for review is to decrease the load on the Dash Evo tool generates due to repainting the UI a bit. And also a method to gracefully shut down Dash Qt. So basically the logic right now will be that if you start Dash Qt from within the inside the Dash Evo tool where there is the button to start Dash Qt, if you do that, then if you close the Dash Evo tool, it will also gracefully shut down that Dash Qt instance. And yeah, or a few other fixes like identity loading is broken. It's in review in this case, but just waiting for a review to finalize that. One nice improvement is that when we were creating a token and when we were like voting or signing a group action technically, so voting for some token action, like change the maximum amount of tokens available or other settings like that. It was quite hard to use because the user had to enter some details of the operation. In this case, everyone who was accepting the group action to change the max supply of the token had to manually enter that amount that should be the new max supply. With this improvement, it's just automatically filled. So basically, that's more or less in terms of my involvement here. So Paul.
Hello. Yes, thank you. I was 100% or 99% on Dash Evo tool this sprint. We released the developer preview. And thank you guys for doing that. We found some bugs and just like stuff that I'm not normally looking at. So I was able to fix a lot of that stuff. One of the feature requests was to bring dark mode back. After the new UI update, we just had light mode, so basically brought dark mode back. There was a feature request to add contract bounds for identity keys when you're adding a new key. So that basically allows a user to so it's a little, I'm not exactly sure what it's supposed to do. It's like, I worked on it like last week and kind of forget, but isn't it like when you add a key, you can basically say like a user can only use this key with certain contracts?
Yeah, actually, I can talk about it.
Thank you.
You can add an encryption and decryption key on a certain contract. And like that, you can use these keys to encrypt or decrypt information about that contract on the client level. For example, if you had let's say you're making a app for, I don't know, like a Twitter, or not maybe an instant messenger, right? So you're encoding your messages between you and the people that you're talking to. And then somebody else makes an app that analyzes poodle types. Yes, the type of dog. Now, you don't want to use the same key between those two apps, right? Like maybe one of them is written, the Poodle app is maybe written by a very junior developer who doesn't take security seriously, right? So you don't really want to be sharing your keys between the different apps. So instead, you basically do key contract bounds. So on one contract, you're going to have a specific set of keys. On the Poodle contract, you're going to have a different set of keys, and then they won't interact with each other. And then, so for example, if the Poodle app is compromised, your other app is not compromised. That's kind of the idea behind key contract bounds.
Are people able to like use that today?
Now, that is a very interesting question because it seemed to work if you created the key contract bounds as part of your original identity. However, if you add a key after the fact, it does not seem to work. There was a mistake, so it's going to be fixed in 2.0. It does work because you have to have key contract bounds for DashPay contract to work. DashPay contract uses encrypted messages that are on the DashPay contract with key contract bounds.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yep. I
Yeah,
noticed though
so
that the done is orange and the in progress is green. What
oh,
is this?
okay, I guess you can see my state of mind today. Yeah, I stayed up very late last night working on an exciting feature that I'll get to at the end. So today I'm pretty tired. Um, yeah, so some other features I added was token info button on the token screen. Basically, you can get more info about a token. There's like basic info, and then like you can also view the whole token config, which is all the details. I added document types to the token creator. So it's just a basic version of adding document types when you're creating a token contract. You can just paste in like a JSON schema, and it'll be included in your token contract. And you can use dashpay.io to generate one or edit one, like a document schema. Platform info screen, we added a screen for fetching platform info. There's like a bunch of different things you can do. You can get current epoch info. You can see the amount of credits that are currently on platform, stuff like that. And a lot of just general bug fixes and UI improvements. A lot of, oh man, like getting the spacing right in like Rust UI is not fun, we'll say, and quite time consuming. Yeah, so the thing I've been excited about, and really it's Pasta and Sam's work. They've been working on a SPV client for platform, and I basically spent the past 2 days integrating it into Dash Evo tool. This allows you to interact with the network on Dash Evo tool without running Dash Core. So I think it reduces like if you want to use Dash Core with Dash Evo tool, it takes like hours to sync the chain, right? Before you can start using the Dash Evo tool. But the SPV client, I think you can sync in just a matter of minutes. So it's pretty great. It's working, I would say. I mean, it is working at a basic level right now. So proof of concept is confirmed, I guess. And I'm just ironing out the details kind of. There's still some issues and optimizations and stuff to make. So I think hopefully within the next week, we should have that working in a good state. And that will make it much easier for people to start using Dash Evo tool and interacting with platform. That's all for me.
Are you going to show us?
Sure, I can show you quickly.
Aha! I
You forced him.
forced him. Peer pressure.
Hopefully it works.
Mhm.
Okay, so you can select Dash Core SPV here, select the network still, and I'm assuming you can see down here I'm not connected to Dash Core at all. And let's see, let's pray it works. Yeah, cool. Okay, so fetch, this is the new platform info screen. We can fetch info from platform, and we're not connected to Dash Core. Do a document query. Yeah, cool. Testnet
Wow.
is down right now, so I'm on mainnet, so I'm not going to open my identities and stuff. But you
Yeah,
can
sure.
do the like state transitions work too. You can register contracts and documents and everything.
Okay. Excellent. That's awesome. That's going to be like an amazing change.
Yeah, that's why I was up so late. I couldn't get off my laptop last night. I was excited about it.
Yeah. I'm happy about that too.
How do I
Thanks, Paul.
stop sharing?
I think I did.
Okay.
Oh yeah, so this slide's mine. It's very small things that were also done. I wrote a gRPC CI check. What does that mean? Basically, for every type of query that we add to our system, we're verifying that it's fully implemented now. Well, not fully implemented in this PR. We have another PR for fully implemented. What does that mean? So let's imagine we write a query to get, well, what query did we add before? Can Paul, what query do we have in the system? Somebody give me a query.
So what?
Give me a query. Get
Oh,
token balance. Oh, get
I
token
just
balance.
added the yeah.
Yeah, okay, get token balance. So if the token balance, if that query, like get token balance for a specific identity, if it doesn't exist in the RS SDK, in the RS SDK FFI, in the Swift SDK, and if it isn't tested in all those things, Swift SDK, Kotlin SDK, and all the different SDKs that we have, and JavaScript as well, and WASM and C. If it's not implemented everywhere with tests, you can't add it at the beginning. So we'll never have a feature theoretically that doesn't have all the SDK work accompanying it. Because it's very easy to like write new features and then be like, oh, I'll do it later, and then it never happens, and then there are complaints. But now we're going to have this check that makes sure that it works everywhere when you add the new feature. The second one was just, I think I talked about it last time and even showed it, the detailed interval explanation for perpetual distributions. I think I worked a little bit more on it at the beginning of the last sprint, and I saw that it was merged in on like 2 days after the last review. So, there was some extra work. Also something that I did. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, a lot of time though in the last 2 weeks, I spent working on CFFI bindings for Rust-Core SDK. And so the screen might seem familiar to some because 2 weeks ago I had talked about I wrote the CFFI bindings for Rust dash SDK, or like the Rust SDK. But that was for platform actually. So 2 weeks ago I wrote the SDK for platform, and it didn't actually contain all the core elements. It basically only contained the platform elements. So this time I wrote the core elements, and then those have been used now in Dash Evo tool. And you're also going to see a demo from, well, I won't spoil the fun. Uh, we'll get there. Okay, I think it's core time.
Okay.
Hello,
I breaking up.
Balash,
was
you
I?
there? I think you're good, Sam.
Oh,
Is it core time, Balash?
it is core time. Go pasta.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, one of the cool things is we wrapped up all of the index performance improvements that we did recently. And so we were finally able to do a full reindex test with that. I believe this was against mainnet. And we saw pretty much exactly a 10% improvement, which is what we kind of hypothesized based on the individual PRs. So that's really exciting. It's always great to see, performance improvement. So 10% is a pretty solid chunk, and that definitely helps out. Extended address form in the DML is still making solid progress. We made 6665 is kind of a big, just like there were a lot of decisions as to actual implementation, and there were a couple of things that we didn't quite like, so we had to rework a couple of things, and we're nearing the end of that now. But so that 6665 should be able to get merged in soon, and then we can move on to 6666. So that'll be good to start getting those merged in. Once those get merged in, a lot of the remaining stuff related to it is more testing and less. It shouldn't take as long for individual PRs. There's less kind of architectural decisions for us to argue over for, a week on end. So that will start making more solid progress in the near future. Um, Governance QT voting, I was a little distracted this last week. There were a couple of issues on it that had been pointed out, and I just didn't get to. This morning, I wrapped those issues up, and so that should get done soon. Um, and then descriptor wallet support is still some improvements there are being worked on by Constantine. And platform proof of service banning remains in a state where we could merge it, but we want to test it against platform properly. So that is just kind of stalled out for a little bit until uh, it is time to fully integrate it with platform. So that's pretty much the current development. We can move on to next slide here and take a look at the backport progress. So some progress on V24 primarily this week, but we can move on to the next slide. Here's the list of PRs that were merged in, some performance improvements like I kind of talked about with that total 10%, and then some backports merged in, and some other just refactoring and improvement PRs. No super interesting features got merged in recently, but we are moving towards those stuff like extended addresses. So other than that, very briefly, I think I'll talk a little bit more later on. Sam kind of alluded to a bit of a demo, and you'll see that towards the end. But also worked on some Dash SPV stuff. We merged in a lot of the work in progress Dash SPV stuff into Rust Dash Core, and so DET integrated some of that usage, um, which is very cool to see. That was one of my biggest complaints about DET for forever, and so seeing that start to get resolved is very, very cool, especially with some, what I worked on basically. So happy about that being done. Um, And then a bunch of miscellaneous improvements in Dash SPV got implemented and improved. Different changing up kind of how some of the uh, notification system for working with other languages and callbacks and a lot of stuff like that was implemented. But I might talk about that a little bit later. So that can wrap up core for now, and we can move on to mobile.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right. So on Android, it was the tail end of Eric's vacation, so it was really just a few things that carried over. Nothing too exciting to save historical metadata backend that has proved to take a little bit longer than we planned. But we did actually run into a problem with well, a different system contract that Sam was talking about earlier that we need to address to get past this one. And our final evaluation of the Piggy cards, which is the other gift card provider that we're working with, has been done. So we are able to start development on that. And we have, in fact, started at this current sprint that we're in. Ton of stuff on Dashbend for iOS. And yeah, we are in the two that are in progress right on this slide at the end of the last sprint are now done. So we're in our final stage of regression testing for that beta version, which will be 8.4. And we'll have Dashbend on iOS, which is great. That's the good news. We continued work on trying to use the originally kind of designed system to get DashPay up and running. Not a ton of progress, unfortunately. Sam, I think we'll get into the other approach that we're taking, but we're still a bit blocked on DashPay. So that's pretty much it for Android and iOS.
I can actually give a pretty good segue. Well, we're going in a different direction, basically. And we're going in a direction that, well, me and Pasta are kind of taking over iOS. And we're gonna get it out. And yeah, we've already gotten a lot done, you know. So Pasta's gonna show a demo of what we've been able to achieve, and this is kind of from scratch. Why are we going from scratch instead of from what we previously had? Is because we take everything we have, but that code is like on systems that are 10 years old, and we translate all that functionality with the help of AI to a more modern system. So we're not really going from scratch, even though all the code is being written from scratch. It's just being translated from previous systems and improved. So in the future, we don't have memory leaks, and we don't have all these very nasty things that take a lot of time. And we're able to do this on much more modern type systems. So Pasta, yeah. Also, so people are aware, we are fully embracing AI here. And we actually have bought a machine that is running almost fully, like all the time, with various agents and trying to help us. So me and Pasta are kind of like the orchestrators, and we review and we figure out if everything is happening correctly. But a lot has been is being done by AI. Now, would this have been possible a year ago? No. Things have changed dramatically over the last few months, and now things like this are possible. It is not one thing that I do have to say to our community: AI can't do everything right now, but it can do some things extremely well, and some other things it fails horribly on. And it really depends on what you're trying to do. For example, if you're trying to translate from one language to another, it has no problem doing that because it doesn't need a very big context size. It can see one file, and it can basically translate that one file to another file, and that it can do. If it needs to analyze a massive code base like Platform and needs to find a bug, it just will not be able to do it. So And I think it will be able to in a few years, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. I really have no idea at the speed that AI advancements are going, but it's now able to really do very good work on like SDK things because it requires a smaller context. And yeah, so hit it, Pasta. Let's see what we've managed to do.
Yeah, for sure. So on that vein, one of the interesting things is in a lot of ways I've been this is going to seem like a tangent, but I've been anti like microservice architecture for a good bit. But in the age of like AI, that is actually really, really valuable because everything is so properly segmented and like well defined at each layer. And so that's kind of what we have here. So we have I can run it here. So well, this is a demo iOS wallet. So the reason why we did this was basically to test the FFI layers that we have. Right. So we have the underlying implementations, that's dash SPV. And Sam built on top of that the FFI layers to connect with other languages, and then a Swift wrapper. But we need a way to actually test that Swift wrapper and make sure that it works properly. So we created a really simple kind of demo app. And obviously like stuff like this UI, stuff like that, like none of that is going to be kept. But the underlying implementation is valuable and useful testing for sure. So we can go in and create a wallet, and it has all the address stuff. You can grab addresses, everything like that, of course. But the big thing we can demo here is the sync. So the user experience is clunky because it's a dev tool. It doesn't need to be good. None of this is for users. It's for testing. But so we can see here just by clicking that button, we initialized kind of the underlying dash SPV library. We initialized it with some information about what network we're on. We set up kind of the callbacks so that information can be passed back and forth between the SPV and the wallet app. We basically told it the addresses that we are interested in based on our wallet. And so the wallet code isn't in Swift. It's not in any of the app files. The wallet code is another crate. It's another Rust crate. So the wallet, the iOS app talks to the wallet crate. It gets information that it needs about, the HD seed and the addresses from that and derives stuff. And then it gets those addresses, then it gives those addresses to the SPV crate. And that, establishes them in either like a Bloom filter or the BIP 157 filter right now. And so it establishes them as like interesting addresses and it gets ready for sync, right? And then we can
It's-
sync.
Pasta, it's not really talking to it. It's more like an onion layer, right? Like it's underneath it.
Yeah.
Like you have masks upon masks is more the. But yeah, like look how fast this sync is going. Wow.
Yeah, so there's probably still some performance improvements here, but about 25,000 headers per second is what we expect or what I've seen. And so that's corresponds to about 1 minute sync time. And so that should be also what you can expect in DET. So yeah, honestly, that's so we have this. There's also another demo app that actually is somewhere on the system, but I don't have it immediately available, so I'm not going to demo it. But that one has a bunch of basically platform specific stuff. And so that one has already tested basically the platform SDK and the FFI wrapper and everything like that into kind of an iOS app. So now we have basically everything at the root level of we have the core side of things, we have the platform side of things, and now kind of our next step is bringing the two halves together, right? And getting a demo where we'll be able to actually like receive Dash and then And so, now sync is complete. We can even see here the masternode list got synchronized in that time, and it took us 1 minute and 32 seconds. So that's really not too bad. And this is the slowest that we expect it to be. There are some improvements that we can make even further using compact headers and stuff like that. So definitely excited about that. That's really cool. But
I would like
was-
to say one thing though, Pasta.
Yeah.
This is without checkpoints, right?
Yeah.
Like an actual wallet is going to use checkpoints. So,
Yeah.
when it starts, it's going to be an almost immediate sync. And checkpoints is only, I mean, first things first, there's no mobile wallet that ever has to get any block under um like 700,000 for mainnet, because there was no HD wallet ever created before 700,000 block
Yeah.
700,000 for. So
No, that's a really good point, right? It should be so much faster than this from a user experience perspective, which is what we're excited about. If we look at the masternode this sync specifically here, that started at 23 seconds and it finished at 30 seconds. So really it took 7 seconds to do the masternode list sync, which is like historically one of the slowest steps, from my understanding of the app right now. And
I believe right now it's at 1 minute and 30 seconds.
yeah, so 1 minute and 30 seconds down to 7 seconds for masternode list sync is very, very cool indeed. And maybe we need to sync, 20, 30,000 headers, maybe 200,000 headers at the most extreme. That will take 10 seconds. You're looking at 17 seconds to sync the headers and masternode sync. So once all the headers are synced, it does the compact filter headers to actually figure out what blocks we're interested in. This wallet doesn't have any transactions. It's a brand new wallet, so it doesn't have any interested transactions. Last night I did actually test that receiving transactions functions, but right now the underlying library supports watching transactions in the mempool, but I have not yet integrated that into this demo app. So that's going to be one of my next things to do. But yeah, so basically going back to the high level overview, we have a demo app for the platform side of things, and it's doing good. And now we have this demo app for the core side of things. I don't want to speak for Sam, but what I believe our next steps are going to be is basically bringing those two halves together and getting all of it under one roof, able to receive transactions, able to do operations on platform. And from there, we'll have all of the implementation done to basically just plug it into the existing front end for the iOS app. So that's kind of the goal, because on the iOS app, all the front end stuff is done. All that's pretty much good, is my understanding. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong. But
No, you're right. It's all done. It just
yeah,
needs the stuff working. It needs like being able to register an identity.
yeah,
But I think we're days away from being able to register an identity at this point. We're really very close. I mean,
yeah.
we have no.
Yeah, Sam had gotten
You know,
distracted over the weekend to fix some platform bug that I guess was important or something. So we didn't work on this together over the weekend, so I was just making some improvements. But now that that should be wrapped up, I expect we'll make pretty fast progress on kind of integrating the platform and core side of things together. And like I said, a couple more improvements that I need to make here in the demo app of like adding in mempool transaction notifications properly and stuff like that. Um, but from a like technical perspective, everything is working and it's working pretty well. A lot of this was very, like Sam talked about, a lot of this was done more or less automatically. There was a lot of intervention and a lot of guiding and a lot of correcting. But the amount of code implemented recently is absolutely ridiculous. Like if I just count the lines in dash SPV and Swift wrapper and FF and dash SPV FFI layer. So the amount of code that was implemented recently would have taken legitimately like probably months to write manually. And instead of all of that time being focused on how long it takes to, write the code, it can instead be focused on testing, which is, much, much more valuable. And even like we've been able to create, very large tasks. Like I think the entire FFI layer was done basically overnight, where Sam would figure out what needs to be implemented. We would
About,
figure out,
about a day and a half, but yeah,
yeah,
almost.
we would figure out a spec, and then from there we would have this big spec document that, was helped written, and then we would give that to basically Claude Code, and overnight it would implement a lot of that for us, and we would have something that in the morning was pretty much ready to go, and we were able to test against it. So, this has been really, really cool. It's, I think for a lot of us, you heard it uh, from, from Paul earlier that, he was he couldn't go to bed last night because he was working on this feature. Like it's brought back that level of like pure enjoyment for a lot of us, I think. So anyway, it's very cool to see 40,000 lines in Dash SPV. This is pretty much all of it has been written by not all of it strictly, but a lot of that has been written by Claude Code. 8,000 lines in the FFI layer, 6,000 lines in the Swift SDK wrapper around the FFI. And then there's also the actual iOS app code, but that's probably not super huge in this demo. So it's been an incredible productivity boost, and it's a lot of fun to be able to see stuff get worked on this quickly and get stuff like improved this quickly. So we're excited about that. We've made a lot of good progress on that. And like just to clarify a little bit, these 40,000 lines, like Sam had mentioned earlier, it's not all novel, so to speak. It's all new code and it's in Rust. But one of the things that I had it work on is um, over it before I went to bed, I had it develop basically a giant task list of all of the things that the old quote unquote old, I don't remember if it was Swift or Objective-C, but the Dash Sync iOS app or the Dash Sync
Objective-C.
iOS code. It was in Objective-C. That is pretty, it's pretty old code at this point. It's using some old, functionality, but it was really well designed, good written code. And we want to, use all of that thought process that went into creating it, but update it to, use Rust and be able to, use it in new places and have it, more easily integrated and better compilation tests and everything like that. And so we were able to basically have Claude look at the Dash Sync iOS code, figure out all of the edge cases, figure out all the tests, then look at the Rust code, figure out all the edge cases that we have, all the tests that we have, find out what's missing between them, and basically work on getting them to feature parity. So, um, it's been very cool. It's been very cool to see. This is working well. Hopefully next week we'll have a lot cooler, and I guess in 2 weeks we'll have. I mean, probably we'll have it next week, but you'll see it in 2 weeks. A very cool demo for actually, registering usernames and everything like that in an iOS app, in a thing that you can receive transactions in, everything like that. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much all I had. I rambled on for a good bit. Sam, anything you want to talk about?
Um, no, it's just yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing. If people ask, I mean, I'm sure we're gonna get questions like when iOS. Even with all this, there's gonna be some really complicated parts, and those really complicated parts are so migrating everybody's wallet that they previously have to the new system. That part is going to be a little bit more delicate, and I believe that that's probably going to take about I'd give that about 2 weeks. So we're gonna probably have something. I mean, I wouldn't expect iOS until the end of July at this point, but I would expect it around the end of July. That's my current estimation. And that's if, for example, there isn't a major issue that like takes all of our attention somewhere else, right? There's one other thing, Lukash, what did you just send? Are we on RC18?
Yeah, testnet is on 20 RC18 and the chain is forked. So
Excellent.
all blocks will be just dropped out of the chain.
So all old blocks are over with, right? And now we only have new blocks, correct?
Assuming there are no third party like full nodes or validators that still keep them, then yes. But yeah.
What happens if somebody joins with those old blocks?
I think that these all blocks will just be rejected because they will not have previous block signature validated, right? So the forked chain will get a block, verify it, and it will be broken. Like it will not validate. It will have a different hash of previous block, right?
Hopefully. Yeah, probably.
It would be nice experiment, and we can take a look, give it a try. Honestly, it's a good idea, I think. So yeah, maybe I will just do that, and we'll see
Okay.
what happens.
All right.
Well, we'll talk about it right afterwards. But anyways, yeah, this has been great, guys.
Shall we have the questions quickly answered?
Oh yeah, we have questions.
Oh yeah, like I think we answered them along the way, but maybe we can have a quick recap or summary for these questions.
Sure.
I mean, Sam
So
just gave an update on Dash Pay. I mean, Dash Spend, I also gave the update on. I mean, if there's no issues with our final regression testing, we could have a rollout starting on Dash Spend iOS tomorrow. So hopefully this week at the latest.
okay. Thank you. I just read it out loud so we can check all of them. So when 2.0, we answer that, which is, it can be 1 week, it can be more. iOS, you just answered. DET without core.
Oh, when were we going to release that? We need to, you guys saw it working today, but it needs some more testing. It needs, but probably, what do you think, Paul, like early next week? Oh, he's gone.
Oh yeah,
He's
he
gone.
dropped out, I believe.
I guess it's a major change, so we need time to ensure it's stable. I think we'll still discuss that, but I would prefer to put it into 0.10. So after we release tokens.
For sure.
But yeah.
Yeah. All right,
Well,
so weeks away.
we could also just have it in 0.9, but have it as experimental, so you have to turn it on, right?
Possible, but all the migrations, all these moving parts.
Maybe.
All right.
Okay.
You need to
Well,
migrate
we're
keys.
discussing.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for the comments and feedbacks. We appreciate it. And that's it for today. Is there anybody else who would like to share anything before we wrap up? No? Thank you very much. And see you in 2 weeks.